noticed, these dreams, they come in waves. They come in waves and they come and go. A few weeks with hardly a thing, and then all of a sudden, every night, something's happening. I don't know what causes that or why that is. But this one was a lot more coherent and uh, clear and linear and had a progression to it than the strange dream of that mountain town a couple of nights ago. This was far more vivid and real and did not feel like an entire lifetime. Before I go on, though, we did have a significant strike on Iran. Now, initially, people played it, and as it turns out, though, it was actually a pretty significant strike. So I'm expecting a retaliation, but of course, they didn't go all out initially, because if they did, then if it does turn into global war, they're going to be the first ones to be blamed for striking the nuclear plants or whatever. So they didn't do that. But anyway, this stream started off with me with a group of people. There was some like Asian looking people there, and some Asian as in like East Asian and also Indian. And there was a few other, and none of these souls felt familiar to me or seemed like I knew them from other lives. It was a very foreign type of feeling being around them. And it kind of felt like a vibe of being a work conference or some kind of work travel meeting type of situation where we're traveling together for a specific thing. But later it turned out to not necessarily be the case. So we did travel. We flew in to this city, and the city was Boston, and I knew it was Boston because it was specifically mentioned that it was Boston in the dream. And I've been to Boston personally, and there was some tremendous differences with the version of Boston that I've seen and with this dream. Okay, so we fly in, and it looked very futuristic, I guess. Very, very bright neon lights everywhere in a massive array of colors, just covering every single building from top to bottom, like in some kind of weird Tetris kaleidoscope type way. It was really surreal looking, but it was also beautiful. So we got out and we got a limo, okay? We got a limo into this location. And I mentioned in the community post that it was a road that went on the ocean. And ocean is not the right word, it was in the bay, right? So Boston is surrounded by a bay. So this black limo like thing, it drives out, and this long road extends very far into the bay. Okay, and it seemingly just ends in the middle of the bay, from what I understood. And as it ended, you're taken outside, and then you're taken around this like the circular park like thing, and then you could see a panorama of the entire city. But it wasn't a normal type of skyline because it was specifically designed to be a visual art piece where you would look from left to right and it would tell you a story. Okay, so basically you're staring at it and it appears to be static and not moving, but once you look closer, I don't know if it was binoculars or whatever, we were able to see that these sort of living art patterns emerged. It's really hard to explain. But perhaps it was computer, or since the city looked futuristic on its own, perhaps it was some kind of computer manifestation on massive screens. I really wasn't sure. But you would look from left to right, and you saw these different scenarios. They almost look like stages. They look like stage settings, okay, and they're playing out. And you see one story, and you see another story, and it flows into this like beautiful rhythmic pattern where it goes from one to the other, and they perfectly flow together. And it was a sight to behold. Very hard to explain in words, but just to simplify it, just imagine a beautiful neon city skyline. Other than that, hey Wes, actually, besides all the neon, the skyline looked really similar to current day Boston. But yeah, you have this neon skyline in conjunction with these beautiful, like, it was like a mosaic of art that would go from left to right. And this story kept going for a long time. And like, they took you to this highway in the bay just specifically to show you this beautiful, enigmatic story that played out in the city skyline. So that's what I want people to understand. You're looking at the city skyline, and it's telling you this story by the use of technology or whatever it was. I don't know. Then we drove back to some kind of a house. It was near the airport, I remember, and we were told to all wear the same clothes. Okay, we were put in specifically orange like clothes, um, like an orange sweatshirt and like bluish pants. And then we were all told to stand together, and they were gonna give us some pills. All right, so they gave and this some older guy, like he was like the main guy in charge of everything, who gave us the limo ride, who brought us to this location. Some older guy. He he kind of looked like Marshall Applewhite from Heaven's Gate, which is kind of creepy. All the same clothes and giving us pills gave it a cult vibe, but it wasn't. In the dream, it wasn't a cult vibe at all. It was positive, interesting, futuristic vibe. And I don't know what these pills were for, uh, but we took them, and then he proceeded to explain to us that, every so often, this ball of ice would come from the sky. And, we're awaiting this glorious moment for this ball of ice to ascend from the sky. And then he proceeded to show us a video of what this thing looked like. And it did not look like a meteor at all. It literally looked like a football made of ice with a blue streak behind it, which I guess is kind of like a meteor, but it didn't look like a meteor to me. And so, like, we were explained that we were brought to this location to wait for this momentous moment to see this ice ball fall from the sky. And then everything prior to that was just an introduction to the city. Pretty weird. Um, I like the place though. I like the place very much. It felt like a cohesive organism. It felt like a cohesive living organism, especially when you looked from the bay into the city and you saw this pattern, this flowing pattern of art. You could see that this whole city was like one, like it fused into one organism, and it was in a very positive type way. And the quantum oscillating harmonics of this place was um, very, very high. Actually, it was very high. I could feel the resonance being very, very high. So I guess, the point is that, this is a very technologically based parallel Earth. And it was not necessarily, nefarious or evil like we think of as technology subjugating and enslaving everything. Because this place looked like it was high technology, but it also looked free. So just goes to show there's not necessarily a correlation between high technology and enslavement. It could be a very positive thing too. And I believe that was a real place that really exists. So that's all there is to it.